here we are looking at the wrap up for this season. And in this episode, a whole lot happens.
I like the beginning of the new alliance, or the news that they were going to be starting a new alliance.
And I definitely am feeling the president of Earth trying to give Sheridan an ultimatum. And he's like, as long as my people get immunity, I don't care what y'all do, I'm out of here. Because I'm the new president up in this bitch. It was amazing.
Yep. So this does wrap up the whole story, kind of. So season 4 was supposed to be the last season. There's a whole lot that was going in the background with the network. I think it was called Primetime Network. And that was going out of business. But then they were getting picked up by TNT. And so they were like, we need a 5th season. So they had to write in a way for us to continue the story, but also conclude all the different pieces that they were telling. And this honestly was a really good conclusion. This, like, if they had never shot another episode after this one, the series would have been done very well. But as we know, there's one more episode in this season, and then there's a whole 5th season that continues the story of Babylon 5. But I'm very excited about this one because we get to see some consequences for once. For quite a few people, not just consequences, but some congratulations. Like, the good guys get a moment of, I don't know, they get celebrated. They get to see a portion of their goals achieved. And it feels pretty good. Let's go ahead and jump in here because we'll see what Sunday's talking about. And we'll look at some of the things that I said off air that I thought not just kind of not cool, but just, I think, bad storytelling. But we'll deal with that. So we're looking at season 4, episode 21, entitled Rising Star. And we've seen the end of the Shadow War. We've seen the end of the Minbari Civil War. And now we're at the very end of the Earth Civil War. Last episode, we saw that Sheridan was heading towards Earth. He had broken away from his interrogation. He was being tortured. Then he was like, all right, cool. I'm back with y'all. Now we're going straight to Earth. And President Clark, being the coward of a fascist that he was like, screw, if I can't have Earth, can't nobody have Earth. And so he turned the orbital guns towards Earth, and then Sheridan's fleet went and protected Earth and stopped the orbital cannons from destroying Earth. And so now we have Sheridan turning himself in as he promised, because like, as soon as this is all over, I'm going to give myself over to military tribunal. They're going to decide my fate. The episode opens up with ISN, which I know how I feel about ISN covering this, but how do y'all feel after a couple of seasons of seeing how ISN covers things? And now they're going to be talking about Sheridan.
I usually see it as a story device, so that what the perception of what we get from ISN reflects the direction of the story. So this seems to not have any indications of tampering. It's like, and the facts that can be proven, like the rest of the story, everything they say happens. Like, they had a press conference and
Right. Yeah.
Captain now. So it just felt like narration to me.
It made me think too, if they ever get the remake off the ground, it should definitely start off with ISN, because it does offer like a really cool storytelling tool to get people into what's going on. And then if they get back to ISN, at least we'll have like a little bit of a reference point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Not that I think that you can ever trust ISN, but it does kind of highlight that whoever is in control at the moment is feeding the information to ISN, and then that determines whether the information is valid or not. And that's what makes ISN so untrustworthy, because it shouldn't matter where the information is coming from. You should be doing your job as a journalist to make sure that the information that you are reporting is true, as opposed to like just being fed down to you from the top.
I agree with you. The problem that we run into is that the media, private media, is a money making machine. And so they are so influenced by so many people with agendas. And that's why it does make me a little, I don't know, I kind of wince a little bit. Like, this is ISN reporting on everything, after the Civil War. And it's kind of like, so they're the ones, so they're reporting. And I like this storytelling tool because it keeps you from having to live through all of these things. We see that President Clark committed suicide and his body is covered up. They know that he took his life instead of being taken into custody. Sheridan surrendered to authorities and he's in a closed door hearing with Earth Force. The thing is, though, Sheridan has high standing and positive polling, so they got to be very cautious with how they handle him. The new president, the acting president, is Susanna Luchenko. She is from the Russian consortium, and she promises a careful investigation into Clark and the coup. Luchenko, she's telling people to, like, calm down. We're going to work on our best nature. We're going to figure this whole thing out. And she's being extremely diplomatic, which is kind of disgusting right now. And here's my problem with all of that. And I'm going to say this throughout this episode. She's being diplomatic because there are still fascists that are still throughout the society and in the government. And so she has to, like, say stuff to not piss them off completely. But, like, they just lost a war. You know what I mean? And so she has to appease the other side. In fact, Sheridan says this later in the episode too, and that just to me is gross. But what do I know? What do I know about politics? Other than if you don't punish fascists, that they will always come back and ruin your country with more fascism. Anyway, we quickly switch and we see Franklin. He's racing to Babylon 5 in his shuttle because remember the last time we knew that Marcus had gotten away and broke into Franklin's files, and he was like, "Ooh, I got it. I know what I'm going to do to save Ivanova." So Franklin figures out, like, oh shoot, he found our machine, the alien machine. And the longer it takes Franklin to get to Babylon 5, the longer Marcus is using that machine. And we're trying to figure out, is he going to be too late? Are we going to actually see a main character die?
Or which main character is going to die? Because one of them going to die.
Exactly. So Franklin does arrive after the intro of the show and everything, which, can I say, the season 4 intro, I think, is the best intro of the entire series. Season 5 is terrible. 1, 2, and 3 is like a build up to like this triumph of what season 4 becomes. And so the intro expresses that for me. So anyway, get that out of the way. So Franklin arrives on the station. He's hurrying to med bay, and one of his doctors is talking to him, telling him the status of everything, that Marcus was connected to the machine and he is dead. His whole everything, brain dead, heart death, all the stuff. His entire life force was transferred from Marcus's body into Ivanova's body. Franklin's like, oh shoot. We see that Ivanova, who is, relatively up, she's awake, and she is grieving over everything. And this is a masterful performance by Claudia. She's super sad. She's crying. And the way she delivers the lines are right in the feels. She's grieving over Marcus's sacrifice. She's like, I never asked him to do that. But also, she couldn't stop him. She said, I tried my hardest. I couldn't even move. Franklin is trying to console her, but he's also Franklin. So he's not great at it. They have this discussion where she explains, he really liked me, and she expresses that she cared for him. But she says all love is unrequited. And like I said, this was a masterful performance because while she's grieving over him and expressing all these emotions, she's still Ivanova, who is so pessimistic about everything. She gets to live life and she finds another reason to be sad.
You don't get over stuff like that very quickly. It's like, oh, there's an example of why I should think that this is possible. And you still have been conditioned for decades to feel like something's going to go wrong.
Yeah. And then we get the brief little sex joke, which there's a couple of sex jokes in this whole show. She wishes that she could have had at least one time with Marcus. Franklin makes fun of her because she uses an extremely 90s term. Honestly, it's campy, it's awful. We'll just go ahead and slide on by that. You guys who are listening, go ahead and watch the show.
But I liked how she described the transfer of energy. I don't think that in the times that the machines used before that they gave such detail, and how she has surrendered to death and she was going to be okay with the transition. And then she started feeling the weight pulling her back into herself. And then she was present and saw that they were connecting to that machine, and how she would have detached if she could, but she didn't have enough strength to do that.
But she put her mind to something, she's going to do it.
So we quickly switch and we see Jakar and Londo. They're engaged in some banter. Sex joke number 2, where Londo is making fun of Jakar about the amount of time it takes to do certain things. Again, you guys just watch the show. Veer shows up and they're both like, "You're late." And Veer's like, "Oh, it's okay. It's just that." And then he looks at Jakar and he looks at Londo and is like, this is a matter of state. So is it okay if there's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, yeah. Go. Okay, Jakar, you go." And so Veer informs Londo that the regent is really sick and the council expects him to die early in the next year. And Londo's voice is going to be very important when it comes to leading the Centauri people. And so they want him to be emperor. Londo, who has been like fawning for the old days since season 1, looks terrified. He's like, "Oh no."
He don't want the old days no more.
Nope.
He after found out.
And it's him remembering like his prophecy about, his dream about the future, that he's gonna become emperor and he's gonna die. Yeah. It doesn't sound very happy. But what did Thanos says? You can fear it, you can run from it.
But it's always inevitable, something like that.
And here I am. Sheridan, he's in an empty office and he's waiting on his hearing. And in walks Bester, so cavalier in his Hugo Boss Space Nazi uniform. And he confronts Sheridan and he's like, "So, I got this jammer on and we can just kind of talk." And they have a spirited conversation. And Bester threatens Sheridan. He's like, "Look, if you did anything to my girl and let her die for your stupid little war, you won't make it out of this room alive." And Sheridan is like, "Are you serious? You seriously came in here and threatened me and thought it was going to mean something? I've died before, bro. Like, you can't do nothing to me." They have the discussion and Sheridan kind of drags it on a little bit. He goes, "Look, sending those telepaths up on those ships was the hardest decision of my life. We chose 30 telepaths, people who had no family, people who had no contacts, people who didn't have any special skills." And then Buster's like, "Carolyn didn't have any family. We only had each other." And Sheridan just looks at him like, "Calm down. It's okay. She's still on Babylon 5. It's all good." And it's like, Bester, okay, y'all help me with this, okay? So I understand Bester wants to burn down civilization for this person, right? Okay, cool. But civilization almost went away anyway. So this is a case of him being like stubbornly self-centered and selfish, because she's still like under shadow influence. They have not cured her, right? She's just in stasis. So to him, the Civil War didn't matter at all.
Well, like Sheridan could have said, "Oh, your loved one, she's still suffering on Babylon 5. She's not dead. She's not at peace anymore. She's still suffering, alive."
Right. Yeah.
because it was torture for
Yeah.
him to be existing that way. Like it was almost like a mercy death kind of.
Yeah, especially like that first telepath that was like, I don't know what to do. And because he wasn't connected to the shadows and to the ship anymore, so he tried to kill himself. He did put him on notice, and it is like, look, whatever you have in store, I don't care about that. If I were you, I'd be afraid of Garibaldi and how creative he's gonna be. Because here's the thing about Garibaldi. Okay, I don't think he's great at his job, but when he wants to be a snoop, he will find stuff out that he ain't supposed to find out. He will find Bester. And then he is creative because as much as he's a cop, he's a crooked cop who will torture people. So he's going to find Bester and torture Bester. And that's what he's worried about. As he talks about, like, as he tells him, like, if I were you, I'd worry about what Garibaldi has in store for me. We switch over and we see Garibaldi doing exactly what I said he would do. He is torturing an informant. He's beating him up, throwing him against a wall, threatening him, and it's because he's trying to find Lise. Lise disappeared after the telepaths murdered everybody in the tower, and she went into hiding. So Garibaldi went to, I guess, this criminal underworld, this organized crime accountant, and he's trying to figure out, like, where would she go? And it turns out that she is being held for ransom by Martian criminals. So he's like, okay, you need to tell me everything so I can find her. So we go back and we see that Londo and Jakar, they're joined by Delin. She presents them papers for the new treaty, and they are forming the new alliance. And this is where Londo starts giggling because they're like, what's going on? This is no laughing matter. And he's like, look, it's not every day that I'm part of history. I'm not laughing at this. I'm not laughing at anyone. I am just nervous because this is insane. It's like, okay, all right.
Joyful thing that they're all joining together. I mean, it is like a big deal and diplomatic and everything, but I mean, y'all been working hard towards this. You should be happy that you got there.
Yeah, true. But there's also what gets revealed later in the episode. I'm wondering if that's the part that he's reading and that's what he's laughing at.
Well, it's actually like pretty grandeur of a project to create, and Centauri like grandeur. Also, episode in season 5 where we get to see the difference between humor in the different cultures. So
Yeah.
this is something that his culture could find funny. It tickles them to be a part of something that's bigger than them.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, yeah, it should be considered bigger than him, even though he's about to become the emperor. But I still think it's because of the big reveal at the end, and he's just like, he's amused because he's like, wow, that's kind of a big deal. So we switch to seeing President Luchenko. She arrives to the office and she talks down to Sheridan. At first, she's a little diplomatic, but then she starts to use her gallows style humor, similar to what Ivanova would be doing. Her whole thing was like, half of the people think that you should have been shot on sight. Another half think that you should get the Medal of Honor. And of course, I think we should compromise. So I'll give you the Medal of Honor and then I'll have you shot. That sort of thing. Which, okay, cool. And this is where she talks about how they didn't move very openly due to planetary security because of the turmoil on Earth with the fascist Clark regime. They didn't want to seem disorganized and weak because that would invite an invasion. But we did learn that Clark was obsessed with Sheridan and everything that's going on in Babylon 5. But Babylon 5, since it went independent, it was out of Clark's jurisdiction, so he was pissed off.
I think it's a projection on the president's part to assess that if we took this action, it would make us look weak and then incite an invasion. That's how you feel about looking at the other worlds. And I don't know anybody was really looking at Earth and considering invading them. They had their own shit going on. Like first we just got out of this fight with the shadows. And then everybody had their own civil wars that they were dealing with. I don't think Earth was on nobody's radar for an invasion.
Yeah, but Earth don't know that.
Yeah, Earth isolated itself.
Yeah, they isolated themselves, and they isolated themselves under the propaganda of xenophobia. Yeah. So not only are they controlling what information that they get from the outside, but they're also telling them aliens are the enemy. Remember how we almost got wiped out? And the whole thing against Sheridan, with him being obsessed with Sheridan and trying to take him down, was to say, he's sick. He's being friends with those aliens. So the most of the world is only being fed, but the aliens are out to get us. Sounds familiar.
Yep. So that means she's probably buying into the propaganda from the Clark regime. Which is interesting.
But also she has to, being in control of people who believe this, has to consider it. Because if you just straight up went to them and said, no, this is all wrong, they're telling you something else without any facts, because you don't have any outside resources to get any information from these species, they're just going to look at you like you're crazy, especially since they're already making Sheridan look crazy for being friends with the aliens. If you say anything that's nice about the aliens or non racist against the aliens, you're going to be seen as crazy and stupid, and they're not going to listen to you, which totally negates anything that you would have tried to do by trying to tell them.
And it's wild too, because we have that kind of background, but the way that she responds to Sheridan is like, what you did was inconvenient for us.
Yeah. Well, he also said that she had forces trying to take down him too, but Sheridan got to him first. So it also kind of sounded like she was just jealous of him. It's like, no, that was what we were supposed to do, and then you came and took over. That was
very inconvenient. Basically, he did everything that even she wasn't able to do, which is be able to operate outside of whatever their borders and parameters are to get things done. And it's frustrating to hear, because we hear this all the time when it comes to diplomacy in our governments, whether it be like the UN or the US. It's like, oh, we have to compromise with the other side. It's like the other side are totalitarian fascists. They don't want you to work. And it's really weird to hear people say like, yeah, we have to compromise with the fascists. To me, it's frustrating. It boils my blood. But then again, it's like those people are in government. And so it's like, you got to play your cards right in order to get some sort of progress done. And hearing her do that, it is infuriating, because it's like, you mean y'all didn't have the ability to make any moves during the Earth Civil War? You couldn't do anything while we were at war? Like, come on now. You know what I mean?
the war was on anyone on the outside. They were still on the inside. So I think that makes it a little more difficult, especially when you're under martial law. You can't just free. Whereas Sheridan was able to freely move. That's why I feel like it was more of a jealousy thing. Because like you're trying to survive in order to do the thing, but you're also trying to do the thing at the same time. Whereas Sheridan didn't necessarily need to worry about surviving and resources and all other stuff.
Yeah.
All the resources are being controlled by the so-called other side, when y'all technically on the same side. Y'all just have different opinions from the same side because you're all from Earth. And yeah, that makes things kind of difficult. The best I can try to relate to it was working in the school system, where it's like, I know that it's better for kids to learn a certain way, but because of the overhead that I have over me, I can't always or anytime sometimes do any of those things. And we're not given the resources to do those things or the freedom to do those things.
Yep. Because you got like all of this bureaucracy to deal with. So President Lachenko, she basically tells Sheridan what's going to happen. She's like, look, everything you did was inconvenient, so we got to do this to you. We need you to resign Earth Force. We're going to give clemency for everyone that's involved. It's going to be okay. You're going to still get your pension, but you cannot hold a position in Earth Force. And Sheridan's like, well, what if I don't? And she's like, oh, well, you don't. We can drag this out. Y'all can stay in prison if y'all want to. He has to go on ISN and explain his actions that he was doing what he decided to do to defend Earth. And all of this is to give her a little bit of leverage and some, I guess you could say, legitimacy as being the acting president and whatever the party is, because they have to do something to him. They have to punish him. They're like, right or wrong, you led an insurrection against your own government. Like, we can't stand for that. If we do, it's gonna be bad. And in this part, we are to believe that Sheridan is put in an impossible position. Are we gonna lose Sheridan? Stay tuned and we'll find out. So we find Garibaldi. We're back on Mars. We're at a mobster's warehouse, and they get a knock on the door. And he's like, hey, go over there and check that out. What's going on? The dude doesn't see nothing. He picks up this box off the ground, and I guess the boss gangster's like, bring that over here. Bring that over here. Give me that. Show me what it is. And it's a box. And it starts to talk. It's basically doing a Porky Pig. Beep, beep. That's all, folks. It starts to smoke, and then he drops it, and then it explodes. And this scene, while it is supposed to be triumphant, I find it super hilarious because the Rangers are rappelling into that room from the ceiling, and I don't know why, but my brain kept saying Rescue Rangers. So, and then,
well, I mean, with the reference,
yeah, exactly. And then the wall falls and it crushes one of the guys, and I'm just dying laughing. I'm like, these guys stood no chance. Yeah, they go in, they figure out, they rough up the gangsters, and they're demanding to know where Lise is. We switch to Delin. She announces the approval of a significant proposal on the White Star, and she reflects on Marcus's sacrifice. She's talking with the others, Jakar and Londo. So Delin, Jakar, and Londo, they arrive on Earthdome just in time for a live press conference, which I thought this was actually really, really good. While on that ship, though, this is where we get hints of Lanier and his character taking that dark turn that I don't like, because they're talking about Marcus's sacrifice and how he gave his life for Ivanova, and they wish he hadn't done it. But then Lanier's like, I heard that she said that all love is unrequited. And Delin is like, yes, she did say that. And then you see Lanier have this kind of like contemplative look on his face. And Delin also looks a little worried about that. And she goes, she's wrong, of course.
Yeah.
And Lanier's
because just because I don't have the same kind of feelings for you, don't mean that I don't have the same kind of feelings for other people. And it's so nice to know now that I've developed and like learned, because they're not just out here widespread teaching this, that there are so many different types of ways to love and have attraction and have connections with people. And it don't always have to be the romantic stuff. And to give Lanier the ability to develop a love and a relationship of depth and meaning with Delin, and it don't have to be romantic and still be fulfilling. But of course, this is 20 years later.
Yeah, I know.
And that's the show came out, right?
Yeah. And that's the thing. It really frustrates me because it felt like they were going a very wonderful, like, ace direction with Lanier.
Yeah.
They were doing such a good job describing it. And then it's like at the last minute, it's like, okay, now let's reveal he's actually romantically in love with her and he's going to betray everybody. And it's kind of like, oh man, this actually kind of sucks.
And it really does suck because it also diminishes the ability to like show an example of when I say that my best friend is a man, and then men are just like, he's just waiting on the opportunity to get you, and I'm just like, no, I don't think he is.
Yeah.
Especially we've seen how he's been over the years, and it's like, yeah,
But I think it would have been nice if he had used this opportunity to show himself the same type of love that he shows. Um, what's her name? Delenn. I should know their names by now. It's a year and a half. Well, like I said, I'm bad at names. But unfortunately, it doesn't go that way. But that could have been a way that they went. He could have been like, well, Marcus gave his life for everyone, and I've been giving my life to her. But if it was to end, what part of my life would have been for me? And maybe I'm just projecting, but that type of love is also important because you don't care for if you don't care for yourself, you can't be there to care for others.
right.
And yeah, and also he could have been like, well, I know you're good because I know Sheridan's going to be a good person to you. So now I will offer be who I need to be. Oh, yeah. Be who I need to be for me. And not to mention he knows so much about war and being a fighter and gathering information that it kind of fits his personality. Maybe he was born into the religious class and now studying is all that he could do and not actually go out and do those things. And
Yeah.
Now that he got the opportunity to be a ranger, he was like, maybe I should actually be who I am and not who I was born to be or what I was assigned at birth.
Yeah, yeah, I got that. I like that. Such
That's why I was
good
thinking
head
the
canon.
healthiest thing for him to do was to leave at that point. But
Yeah,
like, yeah, you did a little foreshadowing saying that that's not already done.
yeah. It's yeah. They'll see. They will see.
Often television, the things would just, go in a direction that kind of makes a little more sense. But I really like the spin that you just put on that perspective. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. So we finally get the press conference. President Luchenko, she speaks about the end of the Clark regime and how they had to make these difficult decisions. And then she lays it on real thick by praising Sheridan, saying like, oh, he did these amazing things. He fought for Earth and he loves Earth and he's an Earthling. But we have to accept his resignation. And so they give Sheridan a moment to talk. And it was some really cool things that he said. Basically, he's resigning from Earth Force to relieve the tensions. He's to ease the tensions caused by his leadership of the resistance. And he was like, I don't want to be a reminder of what divided us. I want to be a reminder of what brings us together. So I'm tendering my resignation. Oh yeah, by the way, thank you for amnesty for all of my people. Very much appreciate that. You know, he talks about I love Earth and I love humanity and I'm accepting the responsibility and I am leaving Earth Force. And while that happens, he says he wants both sides to put aside their disagreements and come together. We're all children of Earth. And so, he sits down. So we get the official resignation of Sheridan, no longer captain. Luchenko, being the opportunist, is like, oh, yeah. So to commemorate this moment, we have the League of Non-Aligned Worlds here to make a statement about this. And here's the thing. It makes sense that she would have them there because she's like, okay, these worlds fought for us, and I know they would probably have something to say. Let's just commemorate this moment. It's going to be all good. By the end of it, I'm going to look great. And so Jakar, this is where you should have known it was a problem. Jakar talks first. And the first thing he says is that he announces the dissolution of the League of Non-Aligned Worlds, and they are forming a new Interstellar Alliance. Okay. Not bad, but now is politically inconvenient. The alliance is built on mutual cooperation and respect, diverse voices, and many worlds. They're joined by the desire to build a better future under a common authority. And they're like, okay, cool. Delenn elaborates on the Interstellar Alliance. And while she's talking, this is where we kind of get like the velvet glove and the iron fist, because she's talking about improving the lesser races and promoting free trade. How the Rangers are going to be a thing that everybody knows about. They're going to be peacekeepers, but they're not going to be enforcers. As she's saying this, the White Star Fleet flies over the UN building, the Earth Alliance, the Earth Alliance or Earth Force building, and it just rattles it. And she talks about how their goal is to keep the peace, but they're not going to be enforcers. It's going to be all good. But if y'all fuck around, we going to hear about it and we're going to be coming for you. Right. So then, in private, away from the camera, President Lutsenko is just like, okay, look, you kind of blindsided me with all this. I need to know what's going on. And Londo, of all people, speaks up and he's like, look, we're tired of war. And so we thought that this would be a better idea. And then Delenn, she says, we actually want to have Earth Force to join the Interstellar Alliance. And, you know, we can...
Is this where they had offered the technology for gravity as opposed to the slower ships that had to have the rotating gravity, or did she do that publicly?
That this is in the private. Yeah, but that's literally what I was about to say.
Oh, my bad.
She's going to offer the technology for the gravity plating. Lutsenko is like, maybe. If we choose to accept this, who do we negotiate with? And that is the thing that I think that Londo was laughing about, because they cut away and the General Foote, I guess his name, General Foote, he is pissed off. He walks into Sheridan and he's like, Sheridan, you know about this the whole time. And Sheridan is laid back with his feet kicked up. He has his jacket off and he's all like, ha. Yes.
Gotcha, bitch.
And he explains how, like, look, I wouldn't have been able to do this in Earth Force anyway. I needed y'all to fire me. You know, we needed to make sure that y'all felt good and make sure that these people felt good. And yeah, now I got a job to do. And he puts on the black jacket with the sash, and General Foote has to open the door for Sheridan, signifying that, okay, Sheridan is someone important right now, right? And General Foote informs Sheridan that Lutsenko wants to speak to him, being the new president of the Interstellar Alliance. And that's what I think what it was. I think that Londo knew that the Alliance had picked Sheridan to be their president, and he was just like, are you serious? And
yeah, I get why he needed to have them relieve him of his duty before he left. Because if he would have just said, yeah, I just attacked y'all, but now I'm starting this other organization. You could join me if you want or not. So that would still like make him on a whole nother, if they don't join him. Or either way, this makes him look like he's outside. He's more of what they were making him out to be.
Mm-hmm. And it was masterful maneuvering by Sheridan. And you know, I'm pretty sure that quite a few folks were in on that, but it definitely had to be Delenn and Jakar. They had to like have that all sorted out. So Sheridan is formally revealed on ISN as the new president of the Interstellar Alliance. Lutsenko agrees to seek Earth's admission into the Alliance, subject to a Senate confirmation. Sheridan is like, cool. The Alliance membership requires the recognition of colonial sovereignty. So that means Mars will be an independent state. And Lachenko's like, yes, of course, pending ratification. Yes. We quickly switch and we see that Garibaldi is in bed with Elise. He's in bed with Lise. Sorry. We quickly and we see that Garibaldi is in bed with Lise, and they watch the news as she offers him a job managing the Edgar's Industries. This part will be extremely confusing in the next season. I'm gonna just leave that there. But let's just say Garibaldi then married him. Married? They're not married. He's just dating. He has upward mobility with his dating of this woman that he abandoned 10 years ago. Yeah. Ivanova is promoted to full captain and leaves Babylon 5 to command a Warlock class destroyer on her own, citing personal issues. Those personal issues are behind the scenes issues that Claudia and the network couldn't come to an agreement on their contract, and I'm super sad about that. There were some other things going on. If you want to know, go ahead and check out Claudia's book about this part of the series. Very interesting read. Sheridan and Delenn, they are married. They actually are married, but it's a private ceremony aboard one of the White Stars going to Babylon 5. And they're going to stay on Babylon 5 because they are making that their temporary headquarters for the Alliance until they have a permanent spot on Minbar completed. So they're not going anywhere quite yet, y'all. We end with Londo and Jakar. They're having a discussion. Londo is really confused about Earth marriages. He's like, who's throwing this stuff? Jakar is eating. So when things are good, Jakar's eating. And apparently he's eating the rice that was on his clothes. And Londo's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you putting in your mouth? And he's like, oh, it's rice. And Londo's like, it probably isn't any good if they're throwing it away. But then they have a little moment of chatting about the marriage between Sheridan. They're having a little chat about the marriage between Sheridan and Delenn, and Londo, being the perv that he is like, I wish I could look in on them and see how it's going. Of course you do, you perv. And he looks at Jakar and he's like, Jakar? Jakar's like, what? He's like, where's your other eye at, Jakar? And if you had been paying attention for this entire scene, Jakar's left eye has been closed the entire time. It's because his fake eye has been removed, and it is peeking in on the honeymoon suite for Sheridan and Delenn because he's also a perv. And we're supposed to think this is somehow funny. And then the show goes off, and there's a beautiful narration by Delenn talking about the significance of the year 2261. It was the dawn of a new age, foreshadowing the future events and the enduring legacy of Babylon 5. And it was very poetic, very cinematic. And it was one of those things, like I said, had it ended there, the series would have been nearly perfect. I think it would have been like an 8.5, 9.0 category. But there's a whole season after this. So it's kind of like, for Babylon 5 fans, there's a little bit more to enjoy. And so there we have it. Oh, and this ain't even the end of the season. We got one more episode. Yeah. So what do you guys think?
It's a little exhausting, like feeling like the last 3 episodes was the season epic climactic finale, but they just won't let this shit die. But it's really good at the same time. It's I do like a story that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I'm just trusting that eventually this is going to like actually end, because a lot of times shows just kind of go on forever. And a lot of times they'll have kids in the show and then the kids age up and they have to just try to keep finding ways to make the show grow until people get absolutely and utterly ridiculously tired of it with all these dumbass spin-offs and stuff, instead of just like letting something good and quality be good and done.
Yeah. It sounds like you're taking a nice little jab at Star Wars. Oh God, yeah. How many? I don't even know where they at with that right now, because they had like 2 or 3 shows spin off of that, and they have like another couple. Yeah.
I guess they took if it ain't broke, don't fix it a little too seriously.
Man, if it ain't broke, don't make another one. Yep. So we have a little bit to look forward to. When season 5 comes around, we got a couple of questions as far as like, okay, if Ivanova's not going to be the new captain, who is? What's going to be the conflict? We don't have to deal with shadows. Then who do we have to deal with? Each other. Right. Right. And
Psychor.
oh yeah, the telepaths. Yep. Yeah, honestly, what will Psychor's role be? And it is one of those things that you see space where certain factions can expand their roles. So we shall see. Stay tuned. Any developments that surprised you in this episode?
Not really. They've kind of been building up to all this whole time. Like even them creating an alliance of aligned worlds is the point of the show. That's what the point of Babylon 5 was, to bring all these worlds together. Them being together and non-aligned kind of didn't make any sense. Yeah. So, and then with the way everyone sees Sheridan, made sense for him to have that job. Plus, he was being diplomatic the entire time. He walked right into being diplomatic, even though he really didn't have any background in diplomatic relations other than the fact that his father worked in it and he watched his father do it for his life. So, and he cares about people. And he cares about people working together to create a community where that care can be effective. So that's a nice little thing that's in through that, because in contrast, the President Clark's regime, yeah, I can't talk. We're doing the opposite. Like, we still don't even truly understand why he's just being a terror. Right. In other terms, we know why fascist regimes are being fascist, no matter how stupid the reason is. But I mean, was it just pure racism for the aliens, or what? Of course, under most circumstances, a lot of people aren't going to find out why the regimes are doing whatever in the world they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, we can say people don't know, but the reason is the consolidated power, pretty much.
Well, I mean,
yeah,
somebody knows, but there's going to be a portion of the population that's just clueless, and we to be that part.
That is true.
Population as the audience of this show.
Yeah, I like how you said that too. Like, portion of the population that would be clueless, because that's really what they are. They're clueless. I like how you brought up Sheridan's dad, because I left that out. But Sheridan's dad, we have them share a scene finally, right? Like, for real, not just him in a dream. But Sheridan's dad immediately accepts Dylan as his daughter-in-law. No xenophobia, no trepidation, nothing.
Because Sheridan gets his value system from his dad. So yeah, he wouldn't be a xenophobe.
Exactly. Just like, I hear you're gonna be my grandma. I hear you're gonna be my goddaughter, or whatever he said. My daughter-in-law. I hear you're gonna be my daughter-in-law. And then it's like, okay. Yep. All right. So we've concluded that fun episode. That means it's probably time for us to get on up out of here. I would like to thank you all for joining us for this edition of Voices in Hyperspace. You can catch us on any of your favorite streaming services, and you can continue the conversation on all of our social media. Be sure to go to our YouTube, like, share, follow, and hit up our TikTok and our Facebook at Voices in Hyperspace. Continue the conversation. I'm Legendary Black Lion. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Legendary Black Lion. Come hang out with me.
I'm Mel Asylum. You can find me at melsrebellion.com, where the first chapter of my book is available to read. Let me know what you think on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all the linked social medias, and especially Goodreads. If you'd like to give me a review, that would be awesome.
Hey y'all, this is Sunday and you can find me at a poker table.
Until next time, folks, we'll see you out there. Peace.